हेलो एवरीवन, वेलकम टू माय यूट्यूब चैनल श्रीकांत गुरुकुल। एंड लास्ट वीडियो में हमने जून महीने की जो विजन है इसके करंट अफेयर्स, उसका पॉलिटी एंड गवर्नेंस सेक्शन कवर किया था। और आज से हम इंटरनेशनल रिलेशन शुरू करने वाले हैं। तो आज पर्टिकुलरली इस वीडियो में हम तीन टॉपिक कवर करेंगे, दैट इज WTO, बेल्ट एंड रोड इनिशिएटिव्स एंड नाटो, दैट इज नॉर्थ अटलांटिक ट्रीटी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन। तो फर्स्ट टॉपिक दैट इज अ वर्ल्ड ट्रेड ऑर्गेनाइजेशन। वर्ल्ड ट्रेड ऑर्गेनाइजेशन क्या है? वर्ल्ड ट्रेड ऑर्गेनाइजेशन इज द ओनली इंटरनेशनल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन दैट डील्स विद द रूल्स ऑफ ट्रेड बिटवीन कंट्रीज। एंड ये कब एस्टेब्लिश किया गया था? इट इज़ एस्टेब्लिश्ड इन 1995। एंड दैट इज़ अभी इसका कितने मेंबर है? 164 मेंबर्स, जो कि यहाँ पे कोई भी मेंबर का वेटो पावर नहीं होता है। कोई भी अकेले वेटो एक्सरसाइज नहीं कर सकते हैं। जो भी डिसीजन होता है सारी मेंबर कंट्रीज़ की कंसेंसस के द्वारा होता है। एंड इट इज़ ए सक्सेसर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ऑफ GATT। व्हाट इज GATT? दैट इज जनरल एग्रीमेंट ऑन टैरिफ्स एंड ट्रेड, जो कि एस्टेब्लिश किया गया था 1948, दैट इज इन द पोस्ट वर्ल्ड वॉर 2। एंड अभी ये क्यों न्यूज़ में है? क्योंकि अभी इसका जो 12th मिनिस्ट्रियल कॉन्फ्रेंस खत्म हुआ है। तो क्या क्या टेकवेज है कि क्या क्या एजेंडा था उस मिनिस्ट्रियल कॉन्फ्रेंस का, देखते हैं। जो एजेंडा था, कुछ एजेंडे रिजल्ट हुए, कुछ एजेंडे ऑन रिजल्ट रह गए। तो एजेंडा जो था, कटलिंग हार्मफुल फिशिंग सब्सिडीज ऑन इलीगल, ऑन रिपोर्टेड एंड ऑन रेगुलेटेड फिशिंग फॉर द नेक्स्ट 4 years। सो इसमें क्या था? सो अभी जो रिजर्व किए गए हैं, सो उसमें है कि देर इज़ नो लिमिटेशन। WTO ने बोला है कि देर इज़ नो लिमिटेशन ऑन सब्सिडीज ग्रांटेड और मेंटेन बाय द डेवलपिंग और लीस्ट डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज फॉर फिशिंग विद इन देयर एक्सक्लूसिव इकोनॉमिक जोन। सो एक्सक्लूसिव इकोनॉमिक जोन के अंदर जो भी फिशिंग होता है, तो उसमें कोई भी सब्सिडीज पे कोई लिमिटेशन नहीं है। सो एक्सक्लूसिव इकोनॉमिक जोन क्या होता है? दैट इज़ द टेरिटोरियल बाउंड्री से 200 नॉटिकल माइल अंदर तक जो होता है, दैट इज कॉल्ड एक्सक्लूसिव इकोनॉमिक जोन। एंड इट इज डिफाइंड द UN क्लॉज, दैट इज यूनाइटेड नेशन कन्वेंशन ऑन लॉ ऑफ द सी। Then there is also global food security. So global security is a binding decision to exempt food purchased by the UN's World Food Program for humanitarian purposes for any export restriction to address food shortages। अगर किसी भी कंट्री के ऊपर अगर कोई भी एक्सपोर्ट रेस्ट्रिक्शन लगाई गई हो, फिर भी अगर कोई भी ह्यूमैनिटेरियन पर्पस के लिए यूनाइटेड नेशंस की जो वर्ल्ड फूड प्रोग्राम है वो फूड परचेज कर सकते हैं। Then e-commerce transmission like music, e-books, films, etc. So the member countries agreed to continue the long-standing moratorium to on custom duties on e-commerce transmission. There is a moratorium period, long time छूट है अभी कस्टम ड्यूटीज में जो on e-commerce transmissions। कब तक? जब तक कि नेक्स्ट सब्सिक्वेंटल मिनिस्ट्रल कॉन्फ्रेंस होता है, और until March 2024 which ever is earlier। एंड कोविड-19 वैक्सीन। सो कोविड-19 वैक्सीन के ऊपर जो डिस्कशन हुआ था, जो कि इंडिया एंड साउथ अफ्रीका के द्वारा डिमांड की गई थी, दैट इज अ टेम्परेरी वेवर ऑफ द सर्टेन रिक्वायरमेंट्स अंडर एग्रीमेंट ऑन ट्रेड रिलेटेड एस्पेक्ट्स ऑफ इंटेलेक्चुअल प्रॉपर्टी राइट्स। सो वैक्सीन बनाने में जो कि जो प्रॉपर्टी इंटेलेक्चुअल प्रॉपर्टी राइट के जो डिमांड थी वेवर के लिए, सो उसमें एक टेम्परेरी वेवर दी गई है। देयर इज ऑल्सो एजेंडा दैट सैनिटरी एंड फाइटोसैनिटरी डिक्लेरेशन। तो सैनिटरी क्या होता है? दैट इज ह्यूमन एंड कुछ मेजर्स ली जाती है, दैट इज ह्यूमन एंड एनिमल हेल्थ के लिए। एंड फाइटोसैनिटरी दैट इज फॉर प्लांट हेल्थ। सो अभी जो डिक्लेरेशन दी गई है WTO मेंबर्स के द्वारा, they are going to launch a work program to identify new challenges in the implementation of the World Trade Organization sanitary and phytosanitary agreement। तो ये जो टेक अवेज जो भी इस कन्फर्मेशन निकल के आए हैं, क्या इम्प्लीकेशन है इंडिया के लिए? सो जो कटलिंग फॉर फिशरी सब्सिडी, जो कि फिशरी सब्सिडी जो कटल किया गया है, तो इंडिया व्हाट इज द सिग्निफिकेंस? सो इंडिया, बट दैट इज़ नॉट सफिशेंट। इंडिया के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू देखा जाए तो वो इंडिया या कोई भी डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज़ की पर्सपेक्टिव से देखा जाए तो वो 4 year का जो एग्जामेशन दिया गया है वो सफिशेंट नहीं है। दैट शुड बी मोर देन 4 years। एंड देर इज़ ऑल्सो नो मेंशन ऑफ स्पेशल एंड डिफरेंशियल ट्रीटमेंट टू द डेवलपिंग, और कोई भी स्पेसिफिक गाइडलाइन नहीं है डेवलपिंग और लिस्ट डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज़ के लिए। एंड जो कि और जो एग्जामेशन फॉर द वर्ल्ड फूड प्रोग्राम, देर इज़ सिर्फ एक एग्जामेशन दी गई है, ऐसा कुछ डिक्लेरेशन दिया गया है, बट देर इज़ नो, दिस इज ए ब्लैंकेट एग्जामेशन, देर इज़ नो स्पेसिसिटी in this exemption. And India's demand to seek permanent solution to public stockholding, that is a PDS system of food grain, has been pushed to मिनिस्ट्रियल कॉन्फ्रेंस, दैट इज तो नेक्स्ट स्टेप जो 2023 में जो कॉन्फ्रेंस होने वाला है, तो दिस हैज बीन पुश टू 2023. So waiver on IPR and COVID-19 vaccine production. So this will a positive sign, and it will boost the vaccine equity, accessibility and affordability. बट जो कि 2020 में जो इंडिया एंड साउथ अफ्रीका द्वारा डिमांड की गई थी, सो दैट इज अ डिमांडेड, दे डिमांडेड a broader intellectual property waivers on vaccines as well as treatment and tests, but it is a very narrow approach by the WTO. सो ई कॉमर्स ट्रांजेक्शन, सो ई कॉमर्स ट्रांजेक्शन पे जो कि जो वेबर देर इज़ ओवर दी गई है, दैट इज़ द जो मॉरेटोरियम पीरियड को कंटिन्यू करने के लिए डिसीजन लिया गया है, तो वो दैट विल बी हैम्पर द इकोनॉमिक emerging economy like India, developing countries or the least developing countries, and it will India will face the brunt of the financial consequences for such moratorium. क्योंकि अभी जो एक यूनाइटेड कॉन्फ्रेंस ऑन ट्रेड एंड डेवलपमेंट रिपोर्ट आई थी, सो उसमें लिखा गया दिया गया था कि लॉस ऑफ 10 बिलियन पर एनुअली अनम ग्लोबली। सो ये मोरेटोरियम की वजह से जो कस्टम ड्यूटीज़ के ऊपर जो मोरेटोरियम चल रहा है अभी, सो इसकी वजह से एक लॉस होता है जो कि अमाउंटिंग $10 बिलियन पर एनम, जिसका 95% दैट इज़ बॉर्न बाय द डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज। सो ये जल्द से जल्द कस्टम ड्यूटी लागू होना चाहिए। India and South Africa had sought for to preserve policy space for digital advancement of developing countries. Okay, so कुछ चीज़ें जो कि अनरिजल्व भी रह गई है, जो इश्यूज दैट इज़ फॉर इंडिया रेज किया गया था इंडिया की तरफ से, दैट इज़ एग्रीकल्चरल सब्सिडी। सो एग्रीकल्चरल सब्सिडीज क्या है, दैट इज़ द WTO व्यूज इंडियाज मिनिमम सपोर्ट प्राइस। सो इंडिया जो मिनिमम सपोर्ट प्राइस अपने फार्मर के लिए फिक्स करता है, सो WTO उसको एक अलग ही नज़रिया से देखता है, दैट इज़ वो अकॉर्डिंग टू WTO इट इज़ ए ट्रेड डिस्टरिंग मेजर and placed it under the amber box of provision at WTO, meaning it has to capped at 10% of the total value of the concerned product. So जो इंडिया की जो मिनिमम, बट इंडिया का जो चैलेंज है इसको लेकर, इंडिया का जो स्टांस है, इंडिया बोल रहा है कि इसको जो MSP जो होता है, ये नॉट फॉर नॉट एक्सपोर्ट प्रमोशन बट फॉर इट इज़ ओनली फॉर फूड सिक्योरिटी, then non-tariff barriers to trade. So these include technical barriers to trade and sanitary and phytosanitary measures. So there is a India has been urging the rationalization and standardization of the non-tariff barriers. There is also a negotiation on non-trade issues. So there is a negotiation क्या क्या non-trade issues है, just like environment and labor standards. Then also India has been demanding for recognition of the geographic indications. So क्या कहती करंट ट्रेडिंग एग्रीमेंट जो कि WTO के अंडर है, जो भी एग्रीमेंट्स हैं, दैट डज नॉट रिकॉग्नाइज द GI टैक्स डोमेस्टिकली प्रोवाइडेड टू गुड्स। जो कि हमारे इंडिया में जो कि GI टैग दी जाती है उसको वो रिकॉग्नाइज करता है, रिकॉग्नाइज नहीं करता है WTO, जिसकी वजह से कि हमारी मार्केटेबिलिटी इन द ग्लोबल मार्केट थोड़ा सा कम हो जाता है। नाउ India is suggesting that extension of higher level of protection to the GI products, our GI products, that is like basmati rice, Darjeeling tea. Okay, and now there is investment facilitation. India argues that developing countries should be given a flexibility for application of the TRIMS. What is TRIMS? There is agreement on trade related investment measures in domestic policy while permitting foreign investment. सो डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज़ को एक फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी देनी चाहिए, जो तो डेवलप हो गए उनको कोई फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी जरूरत नहीं है। सो देर इज़ ऑल्सो कुछ मेजर एग्रीमेंट्स है WTO आज तक हुआ है। सो देर इज़ एग्रीमेंट, दैट इज़ एग्रीमेंट ऑन एग्रीकल्चर, जो कि 3 एरियाज में एग्रीमेंट दैट इज मेंबर कंट्रीज के बीच में होता है, दैट इज मार्केट एक्सेस, डोमेस्टिक सपोर्ट एंड एक्सपोर्ट सब्सिडाइजेशन फॉर इम्प्रूविंग एग्रीकल्चर ट्रेड, और एक एग्रीमेंट है दैट इज एग्रीगेटेड ऑन ट्रेड रिलेटेड एस्पेक्ट्स ऑफ इंटेलेक्चुअल प्रॉपर्टी राइट, जो कि which stipulates most two concept, that is most favored nation treatment and national treatment, that is for intellectual property. So intellectual property क्या है, just like copyright हो गया, trademark हो गया, geographical indications हो गया. So there is also an agreement, that is agreement on the application of sanitary and phytosanitary measures, so which establishes a multilateral framework for the planning, adaptation and implementation of the uh, sanitary and phytosanitary measures to minimize their adverse effects on trade due to arbitrary and unjustifiable use. Then there is also another agreement, that is agreement on technical barriers to trade. So now what is this? It's aim to prevent industrial standards and safety or environment regulation from becoming unnecessary trade barriers by securing the transparency and harmonization of the international standard. Then ORIC agreement that is agreement on trade related investment measures. It banned those investment measures which have direct adverse effects on the trade in goods. जो गुड्स में जो ट्रेड होता है, अगर उसमें कोई डाइवर्स एडवर्स इफेक्ट्स अगर डायरेक्टली होता है तो उसको बैन कर देता है. दैट इज जनरल एग्रीमेंट ऑन ट्रेड्स एंड सर्विसेज. So it is provides a general obligation regarding trade in services such as most favored nations treatment and transparency. So there are some challenges. क्या क्या challenges है आज तक WTO जब से एग्जिस्ट में आया है, क्या क्या इश्यूज है, उसको उसके सोल्यूशन के लिए क्या चैलेंजेस आ रही है, क्या क्या पोटेंशियल सोल्यूशन हो सकता है. तो इशू क्या है? Ineffective against China's policy. Currently, that is the WTO is in dormant situation and dormant position, and it is totally ineffective against the China's debt policy, China's aggressive economic policy. So, what are the challenges? WTO has not been able to counter China's tariff manipulation and unfair trade practices. क्या पोटेंशियल सोल्यूशन क्या होता है? WTO needs to strengthen its enforcement capacity to deal with such practices to become a credible trading system, जो कि WTO अपनी क्रेडिबिलिटी अभी खो रहा है धीरे धीरे. तो देयर अदर इश्यूज, दैट इज चेंज ग्लोबल इकोनॉमिक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन. सो अभी डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज लाइक इंडिया प्ले लार्जर रोल इन ट्रेडिंग रिजाइम इन द करंट एरिया. सो अभी सिर्फ दैट इज it is tilted totally tilted towards the only the developed nations, developed countries. But now the developing countries like India, they play a larger role in the trading regimes, in the global trading regime. So WTO has to focus that also tilt toward developing countries like India, South Africa. That is a potential solution. क्या है? The operational framework of WTO needs to be revised to consider this changed economic balance. Then there is another issue, that is dysfunctional WTO appellate body. So WTO का जो appellate body है अभी dysfunctional होकर रखा है. तो क्यों? What are the challenge? तो USA has systematically blocked the appointment of the new appellate body members, which it believes has resulted in unfavorable rulings for the USA in its trade disputes. सो यूएसए ने ब्लॉक किया हुआ है, जो अपॉइंटमेंट ही नहीं हो रहा है अभी. तो कंसर्टेड एफर्ट्स नीड टू बी मेड टू मेक द अपीलेट बॉडी फंक्शनल एंड डिस्प्यूट सेटलमेंट सिस्टम ऑपरेशनल. देन लॉन्ग टर्म डिसीजन मेकिंग प्रोसेसेस. जो डिसीजन ली जाती है मिनिस्ट्रियल कॉन्फ्रेंस पे, वो थोड़ा सब ज़्यादा पेंडिंग रहता है, वो इम्प्लीकेशन नहीं हो रहा है. As the decision making is through consensus, it takes a long time and most of the political and ideological differences come in the way reaching consensus. So due to political and ideological differences, तो ये हमेशा लॉन्ग टर्म प्रोसेस ही होता है. मेंबर्स कंट्रीज नीड टू आयरन आउट द डिफरेंसेस टू अराइव ए कॉमन ग्राउंड. सो लैक ऑफ इंक्लूसिवनेस. सो अभी जो विद एन इंक्रीजिंग ग्लोबल ट्रेडिंग सिस्टम, एक्सक्लूजन ऑफ सम कंट्रीज, अभी कुछ कंट्री अभी तक WTO के मेंबर नहीं हुए, जस्ट लाइक ईरान, इराक, लेबानन, उज्बेकिस्तान, दे have not joined WTO yet. Efforts need to be made at making organization fully representative, especially in the globalization era. Move towards bilateral, regional, plurilateral trading regimes. So अभी since a pace of negotiation in the WTO has been slowing, there is a slow decision making processes. Countries are increasingly moving towards other forms of trading regimes such as RCEP, that is they are moving towards bilateral agreements. Then rules and procedures WTO need to evolve remain relevant in the emerging scenario. So that is in the changing global scenario, the rules and procedure of the WTO that is also need to be changed. Effect of COVID-19 pandemic. So COVID-19 pandemic that has changed the global order, and the COVID-19 has forced countries to impose comprehensive export bans and restriction, resulting in disruption in global supply chains. So global supply chain है जो टोटली डिसरप्ट हो गया था कोविड-19 की वजह से. एंड strengthening WTO's dispute settlement system is need of the hour, and to tackle emergent situation situation. And next topic, that is alternatives to Belt Road initiatives. So what is Belt Road initiative? So it is a transcontinental long-term policy and investment program which aims at जिसका it is a transcontinental long-term policy investment program that is launched by China, and it aims at infrastructure development and acceleration of the economic integration of the countries along the route of the historic Silk Road. So historic Silk Road पे जो भी along with that road there is a infrastructure development, economic integration between the countries. So it was unveiled in 2013 and it was until 2016. It was known as OBOR, that is One Belt One Road. And according to the Belt and Road Portal, so जो इनिशिएटिव है जो उनके पोर्टल के तहत currently there is 71 countries are there, they are taking part in the initiative. And the 71 countries, that is they together representing more than one third of the world's GDP and two third of the world's population. So the Belt Road initiative that combines two initiatives. There is a roadways, and there is also a maritime road, as seen in the map. So this is the Silk Road economic belt, land west, and it is the maritime Silk Road. Okay. So why this is in news now? Because United States aims to raise $200 billion over 5 years to fund needed infrastructure in developing countries under a G7 initiatives aimed at countering China's Belt Road projects. सो चाइना के जो बेल्ट रोड प्रोजेक्ट BRI इनिशिएटिव जो है उसको काउंटर करते हुए अभी यूनाइटेड स्टेट ने 200 बिलियन फंड रेज किया है ओवर द 5 years, that is with developing countries under a G7 initiatives. And it is more news क्या है, there is overall investment including partners private capital aims to hit 600 billion over the next 5 years. And it is an announced official launch and rebranding जो कि लास्ट ईयर जो G7 में जो हुआ था यूके में, उसमें जो बिल्ड बैक बेटर वर्ल्ड, देयर वाज ए इनिशिएटिव that was launched in G7 meeting in last year. During the last year G7 meeting, build back better world, that is B3W, and it is the official launch and rebranding of that. And the effort is now called the, that is renamed also, and that is the effort is now called the Partnership for Global Infrastructure and Development, or PGII. What is this PGII? It seeks to provide an alternative to China's estimated $1 trillion in hard infrastructure investment around the world in the last decade. So it is an alternative to China's global investment. तो दिस G7 इनिशिएटिव, एंड इट इज जो भी फंड होगा, जो भी फंडिंग प्रोजेक्ट्स है, that is divided into 4 major categories. So one is clean energy, second is health systems, gender equality, and information and communication technology. At the center, so क्या डिफरेंसेस है जो कि PGII एंड चाइना's BRI के बीच, BRI में, it is a different approach of financing infrastructure project. ये भी एक फाइनेंसिंग इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर प्रोजेक्ट है, पीआरआई भी एक फाइनेंसिंग इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर प्रोजेक्ट है। बट ये जो फाइनेंसिंग इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर प्रोजेक्ट है, दिस विल यूज लिमिटेड गवर्नमेंट फंडिंग to catalyze greater volumes of the private capital. So it will raise a private capital, that is in pension fund, private equity fund and insurance fund. But China की जो BRI initiative है, so that is also a financing project, but that is a state to state channels creating on sustainable debt levels. That will be a risk of debt always there. There will be a risk of debt. तो दिस इज G7 इनिशिएटिव. सो G7 कंट्रीज, G7 इनिशिएटिव क्या है, G7 क्या है? G7 इज एन इनफॉर्मल फोरम of leading industrialized nation which dominate global trade and the international financial system. Most important, it is an informal forum. It meet annually to discuss issues such as global economic governance, international security and energy policy. ओके. एंड कौन कौन मेंबर हैं यहाँ पे? कनाडा, फ्रांस, जर्मनी, इटली, जापान, यूनाइटेड किंगडम एंड यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स एज द कोर मेंबर. दिस 7 countries is the core member. So there are or other invited nation, such as for example in the recent summit, India was invited along with Argentina, Indonesia, Senegal and South Africa as guest. There are also various organizations such as International Monetary Fund, World Bank, World Health Organization, that are the part of the internal governance. Russia joined G7 in 1998, but creating G8. So after joining of inclusion of Russia, it was G8, but again it was excluded in 2014 after the annexation of Crimea by Russia. And the European Union is not a member of this union, but attends the every annual summit of G7. So there is a live campaign. There is a in the recent G7 there is summit. There is a live campaign. So what is live? Life means it is a lifestyle for environment. It is a global that is initiative for life. The full form of life is lifestyle for environment campaign with a goal to encourage an eco-friendly that is lifestyle. The idea of life was introduced by the Prime Minister, our Prime Minister, during the 26th United Nations Climate Change Conference on Parties, that is 20 ग्लासगो में जो हुआ था COP26, उसमें that was introduced, the idea was introduced by our Prime Minister. The mission is to create an ecosystem जो कि that will reinforce enable environmental friendly behaviors to be self sustainable. And so it was डावस जो इन 2020 में जो हुआ था, उसमें आवर प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी इंट्रोड्यूस्ड P3 मूवमेंट, दैट इज अ प्रो प्लानट पीपल. P3 दैट इज प्रो प्लानट पीपल दैट आर इंडियाज क्लाइमेट चेंज. सो जो कि हम इंडियाज क्लाइमेट चेंज कमिटमेंट्स को अंडरलाइन करता है. एंड व्हाई दिस alternatives to Belt Road initiative are emerging. So, क्या प्रॉब्लम क्या है? Because the BRI initiatives, they are fragmented in nature. There is not a unified rules regulation. There is not a unified terms and condition. There is nothing. There is not. There is a absence of coherent strategy. But there is a rather there is a fragmented collection of the bilateral arrangements made on different terms, that is country to country. There is a different terms and conditions. Then opaque nature causing mistrust. That there is a The Chinese government never published the detailed information about the size and terms and what are the terms and conditions of the Belt Road loans, which feeds confusion and mistrust among countries. Then debt art diplomacy. It is a part of the China's debt art diplomacy, and there is a political backlash. So there is due to the China's aggressive economic policy, there is a political backlash within the countries. For example, in 2018, in Malaysia, there was a campaign against overpriced BRI initiatives and the use of the sovereign land for building China's military installation. So, by using the BRI initiative, China is also building its military installation in different countries. So, it is also another concern. There is slow progress due to implementation issues. So, there is also slow progression due to corruption scandals, labor in violation, environmental hazards, public protest. So there is a slow progress. The environmental cost was the severe, that is why BRI has been criticized for causing severe irreversible impacts on the environment towards long-term sustainability. It is hampering the long-term sustainable development. So India क्या concern है? What is the stance of India concerns over the BRI? So geopolitical concern. India is concerned about the India is concerned for the smaller South Asian countries and Indian Ocean littoral states. So Indian Ocean region में जो जो states है, जो smaller South Asian countries है, जिसका कि India is historically maintained a position of influence. Syllabus India is concerned about those countries. Sovereignty and security concern. India always oppose this oppose the CPEC. CPEC is a part of BRI initiative. It is a flagship project of China and Pakistan Economic Corridor, which which runs through, that is a POK, that is a Pakistan controlled Kashmir, that's and which violates India's sovereignty. It is a dispute territorial. And deployment of the security personnel by China and Pakistan for the CPEC is another cause of security concern for India. And there is a since there is a Gwadar port that is building by China, and it is just that will give a strategic advantage in the Indian Ocean region over India's role as the regional power. So this is all India's concern. And what are the other that is alternatives to BRI? So there is other in alternatives, that is European Union's Global Gateway projects. So what is this? This project aims to mobilize up to 300 billion euro in investment between 2021 to 2027, and it will support smart investment in quality infrastructure respecting highest social and environmental standards in line with international norms and standards. That is, and it is a European strategy, totally European strategy to boost smart, clean, and secure links in digital energy and transport, as well as strengthen health, education, and research systems across the world. So the European Union level provides a positive impact, that is by financing them under fair and favorable terms and conditions. There will be transparency in the terms and conditions, which will lead to limit the risk of debt distress in contrast to the China. So China's BRI, जो कि that is which lead to what uh, debt distress, risk of debt distress, but it will limit the risk of debt distress. Then Asia Africa growth corridor. So it is another attempt put forward by India and Japan in 2017. So it is a bilateral partnership intended for foster quality and sustainable social and transport infrastructure development projects and connectivity in Africa. So it aims to promote a free and open world order while also providing an alternative to China's increased investment in influence in Africa. So that is Asia Africa growth corridor. So India's response क्या है जो BRI initiative लेकर? That is India has launched a project, that is MOSOM project. Why this project was launched? To strengthen bilateral ties with countries in the Indian Ocean region. And there is also an initiative, that is Sagar, that is security and growth for all in the region concept. The multiple objectives such as protecting maritime interest, that is enhancing economic and security cooperation in littoral states, that is promoting collective action to deal with maritime threats, building greater trust and promoting respect for maritime rules, norms, peaceful solutions of disputes. So increased aid and investment in other economic invasions to counter Chinese influence in neighbors like Nepal, China, Sri Lanka and Maldives. So इंडिया की जो नेबर्स है, तो उसमें चाइनीज़ इन्फ्लुएंस को कम करने के लिए इंडिया भी इन्वेस्टमेंट कर रहा है. So next topic, that is a NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization. सो ये नॉर्थ अटलांटिक ट्रीटी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन जो है, दैट इट वाज फाउंड इन 1949. क्या एम था, क्या ऑब्जेक्टिव था? दैट इज टू एक्टिंग एज ए डेटरेंट टू द थ्रेट ऑफ सोवियत एक्सपेंशन इन यूरोप आफ्टर वर्ल्ड वॉर 2. सो वर्ल्ड वॉर 2 के बाद जो सोवियत यूनियन का जो एक्सपेंशन था, जो थ्रेट था टुवर्ड्स द वेस्टर्न यूरोप, तो उसको काउंटर करने के लिए NATO was formed. So the organization acts as a collective security alliance. So it acts as a collective security alliance with the aim of providing mutual defense through military And political means if a member state is threatened by an external country, so which is mentioned in article 5 of the NATO charter. So till that there is it has been invoked once only, that is article 5 by the United States in the wake of 9/11 attacks in 2001. So who are the founding members? There are 12 founding members. They are United States, United Kingdom, Belgium, Canada, Denmark, France, Iceland, Italy, Luxembourg, and Netherlands, Norway, and Portugal. Nowadays, that is Finland and Sweden. They are also in the line up for joining NATO. And story of NATO expansion. तो कुछ कैसे उसका एक्सपेंशन हुआ? The Soviet Union responded to NATO by creating its own military alliance with the seven other Eastern European communist states in 1958, dubbed the Warsaw Pact. उसको जो alliance हुआ था उसको नाम दिया गया, that is Warsaw Pact, that is with Eastern European countries, communist Eastern European countries, seven. But after the collapse of the Soviet Union, the Warsaw Pact also ended up, and which includes which lead to, that is Hungary, Poland, Bulgaria, Estonia, Latvia, all joined NATO. The most recent addition were, that is Montenegro in 2017, North Macedonia in 2020. They joined NATO, bringing the total number of NATO member states to 30. Now the total number of NATO member states is 30. There is a NATO जो इसका एक open door policy है, that is mentioned in Article 10 of the Charter, that allows any European country that can enhance contribute to the security of the North Atlantic area to join. So any country, any European country can join. So major non-NATO allied states. It is so U.S. government take, it is a designation given by the US government. It is a US government initiatives to close allies that have strategic working relationship with the US armed forces but are not members of the NATO. So the US has designated 30 other countries, that is including Japan, South Korea, uh, Israel, etc., as major non-NATO allies. The status confers a variety of military and financial alliance, such as participation in defense research projects and counter-terrorism initiatives, by depleted uranium and that is ammunition. Okay, but otherwise, because otherwise are not obtained by non-NATO countries. अगर कोई भी नॉन नाटो कंट्रीज ये सब फैसिलिटी को that is not given by US government, that is only for the non-NATO allied states. Relevance of NATO इन कंटेम्प्रेरी टाइम्स, तो अभी के लिए क्या रिलेवेंस है नाटो का टू डील विथ रैपिडली चेंजिंग सिक्योरिटी एनवायरनमेंट. जो भी अभी रूसिया यूक्रेन वार हो गया, जो टेररिज्म, देयर इज ऑल्सो ग्रोइंग ग्लोबल अनसर्टेनिटी. सो ये सब जो ग्लोबल चैलेंजेस है, तो उसको डील करने के लिए रैपिडली चेंजिंग नाटो का रिलेवेंस तो है. NATO condemns Russia's aggression against Ukraine, and there is also a response to COVID-19. By protecting military, NATO responded to the COVID-19 crisis by protecting military personnel, facilitating the airlift of critical medical supplies, and harnessing resources to deliver in innovative responses. There is also NATO's eastward expansion. So NATO is now that is focusing on eastward for the first time in Asian region. It is establishing, it is ensuring its role in establishing peace and stability in the Asian region. And it has NATO's in the recent summit NATO's document, China has named for the first time, and for the first time 4 Indo-Pacific countries, that is Australia, Japan, New Zealand, and the Republic of Korea, joined the NATO summit. सो देर इज़ ऑल्सो सम आउटकम्स, दैट इज़ रिसेंटली भी जो मीटिंग हुआ था, जो मैद्रिद स्पेन में हुआ था, जो उसमें कुछ आउटकम्स है. दैट इज़ एक स्ट्रैटेजिक कंसेप्ट डॉक्यूमेंट एक रिलीज़ किया गया है नाटो के द्वारा. तो वो जो क्या है, ये जो गाइड, इट इज़ ए गाइडिंग डॉक्यूमेंट ऑफ नाटो and it identifies Russia as the most significant threat and direct threat to the allied security. So Russia को identify किया गया that is the most significant and direct threat to the um, NATO, and it also addressed China for the first time as threat, and it includes other challenges like terrorism, cyber and hybrid threats, and maritime security. That it has also decided to support Ukraine and other partners at a risk. जो भी पार्टनर में मेंबर कंट्रीज जो भी रिस्क में है, जो भी थ्रेट में है, उनको सपोर्ट करना है. A strengthened comprehensive assistance package for Ukraine, जो कि that will support in securing communication, anti-drone systems, and fuel. Adapting the alliance to emerging challenges. There is agreement to cut greenhouse gas emissions by NATO as an organization by at least 45% by 2030 and down to net zero by 2050. So it has also launched that is innovation fund, that is a NATO innovation fund, that will that will invest that is 1 billion euro in the over the next 15 years in startups developing dual use emerging technology such as artificial intelligence. तो क्यों ये फर्स्ट टाइम जो चाइना को जो नेम किया गया, थ्रेट आइडेंटिफाई किया गया है, क्यों? बिकॉज NATO justifies its new focus on China as a collective defense against what is viewed as China's encroachment in European interest. So यूरोप में जो इन्फ्लुएंस बढ़ रहा है चाइना का, उसको काउंटर करने के लिए ये जो जो डॉक्यूमेंट अभी गाइडिंग डॉक्यूमेंट जो आया है, स्ट्रेटेजिक कंसेप्ट जो आया है, उसमें मेंशन किया गया है. तो की पोर्ट्स सच एज पोर्ट ऑफ Piraeus in Greece, one of the that is the largest in Europe, are now majorly owned by Chinese companies. That's a huge influence of China in Europe, and that is a growing influence that is called. And increase Chinese naval patrols in the Atlantic Ocean region, and there is also China's rising interest in the Arctic Sea. There is extensive cyber attacks on Western commercial and military targets by Chinese states. Claims of Chinese ownership over the resource-rich water shops South China Sea and strategically vital waterway. So this is all for this video, and we will cover in another video the rest part of the international relation. Thank you for watching.